Over the last few days, I've watched Robinson Cano and Yasiel Puig hit home runs. No, I wasn't watching old YouTube videos. No, I didn't time travel back to 2015. What I have been doing is watching the Caribbean Series, also known as Serie Del Caribe. This is the postseason tournament of all the champions of the various major winter baseball leagues in the Latin American region. Also, before we keep going, yes, Puig still licks his bat. I have to make two things known right out of the gate here. One is, this is my first year going all in on this event as a viewer, but it has been around way longer than me. And I am a Caucasian American. I have no vested interest in any particular team, but I don't say this lightly. I am so in love with what I've been watching the last few days. It's taking place in the United States for the first time in over 30 years, so I tuned in for the first time simply because it was accessible for me. And because it's only on certain regional Bally Sports networks, ESPN Plus and ESPN Deportes, there's a good chance you probably haven't seen this tournament. I'm even putting up with Bally's scorebug that I normally just mentally crop out for other games. I'll say this about the Caribbean Series right away. It's not every day in baseball you see second inning walks with the bases empty getting noticeably cheered with a similar level excitement as in a World Series game by what sounds like the entire stadium and not just a few scattered claps and whistles. Least of which by a crowd over 70% smaller than a World Series crowd in a game that takes place in February.
Count, here he comes, McCormick watches ball four and has the leadoff walk.
I don't know, I just saw that he signed with someone, I don't know who.
But this is no ordinary baseball. I want to give the Caribbean Series the same treatment I gave the World Baseball Classic last year and the College World Series the year before. So please, hear me out and open your mind to the most fun baseball experience you've never had. First things first, what is this thing? Professional winter baseball leagues in Latin America have always been a huge event for the countries that have leagues, and always a great niche of off-season baseball viewing for MLB fans. Once in a while you get MLB superstars taking part, much more so about 50 years ago, but it's normally minor leaguers looking to get extra reps in, older guys looking to get back into the show, or guys who stick with the local league type lifestyle for pure love of the game. This tournament is the winning teams of those leagues taking part. Think Champions League, but if the winners now wore new jerseys for the countries Latin American winter ball leagues represent. So that doesn't mean all of the players are from those countries or have family or citizenship there. Most of them do, or are from there directly. But you'll see players who are just there for the baseball opportunity too. And that's probably the biggest difference between this and the World Baseball Classic. They just represent the country and its league, but the fans don't care. Aaron Altair was born in Germany and played for the German national baseball team, but when he plays well for the team representing Mexico in this event, the Mexico fans in attendance cheer all the same. He spent their season playing there already. He's repping them all the same. The team rapport is inherently built in from that Winter League season. For this year, 2024, those participating teams are from Mexico, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Curacao, Nicaragua, and Panama. 7 teams crammed into playing 6 games, each within a week. Every team plays every other team once. 1 day off per team. Sorry to Panama and Mexico, who have their days off on the first and last days of the round-robin play respectively, which means they gotta grind through 6 straight days of games. Get through that with a good enough record, and you'll get to play in at least 2 of a semifinal game, the championship, or a third-place consolation game. Both of those on back-to-back days too. So the Caribbean Series is a sprint of a grind, unlike any other tournament I know of, in any sport. Now, this many games in a week means there's a lot of baseball, every single day. I'm gonna pose this challenge for you, the viewer. I'm going to play you a clip from one of the games in this Caribbean Series, and you're gonna guess what time this game was being played at. You ready?
Here's the 0-2. Chopper, shortstop. Alegria makes the play, and Nicaragua gets out of the jam.
Pretty good energy in the building, right? Well, This game kicked off at 10:30 in the morning local time. Have you ever seen that much energy at 10:30 in the morning for anything? Over 35,000 people packed into Miami's Lone Depot Park to watch the Dominican representative team face the Puerto Rican team the night before. And even on the TV broadcast, you could see the building felt, every single one of them.
A lo profundo.
The next day, Puerto Rico and Venezuela brought in over 32,000 for a Sunday afternoon game in the first week of February. This Miami tournament has blown the lid off of things here. Last year's tournament in Venezuela averaged under 8,000 a game. The biggest similarity between this and the World Baseball Classic, though, the premier international baseball event in the world, is the energy. Players are showing it, the crowds are really showing it. The social media teams at their most unhinged top anything I've ever seen in baseball too. The Puerto Rican team posted this clip in reference to the Panamanian team. Meanwhile, the Nicaraguan team hasn't posted on X at all in over 5 years. Credit where credit is due. If you're showing out at 10:30 in the morning on a weekday to support your team, that is some passion right there. And something I have only seen in baseball at this event. The passion transcends just the fans. Ozzie Guillen, yes, that Ozzie Guillen, is managing Los Tiburones, the Venezuelan representative. That's what the T on the helmet stands for, by the way. Not Tenezuela or something like that. Ozzie Guillen said out loud for all to hear that winning this tournament would mean more to him than the World Series he won earlier in his career as a manager. That's amazing. Particularly, it's even more amazing to me when the players participating in this are far from household names. Like I said, these are Latin American winter ball teams, not big league all-stars. Ronald Acuna Jr. and Fernando Tatis Jr. might have made appearances in winter ball this season. Acuna's team is the same one Ozzie Guillen is managing, but the Braves ain't letting him play a gauntlet of 6 games in 7 days in this tournament after this. And I guess also this. You do know, however, that Yasiel Puig and Robinson Cano are playing right now. Again, winter ball is essentially for either love of the game and or for guys like them to get a second chance in MLB, trying to prove that they can still swing it. But some of the caliber of talent in the event this year is a laundry list of baseball players even die-hard fans might not have thought about in years. So basically, if you're a sicko like me who wonders what Chu Freeman is up to these days, these are your people.
These are my people.
Didi Gregorius was always one of the most interesting men in baseball during his career. He had a great year as the Yankees shortstop in 2018, but never quite matched that over a full season ever again, and slowly faded out of baseball. He hit a bases-clearing triple for Team Curaçao in this year's tournament. Emilio Bonifacio was a longtime MLB utility player dating back to a time before the MCU even started, but his last year playing a full MLB season was in 2013. He, also, had a huge clutch triple for the Dominican squad this year. I highlighted Vladimir Valentin in the World Baseball Classic video. He's a guy who hit 60 home runs in Japan in 2013, and last played in MLB in 2009. He keeps hitting homers in this event too, even as he's getting ready to turn 40 this year. But you know who has turned 40? A while ago, is 46-year-old Raul Valdez. I watched Raul Valdez pitch as a 32-year-old rookie for the Mets in 2010. I was in 5th grade then. Today, I have 2 college degrees. I was so taken over by nostalgia seeing his name on the Dominican team's roster, learning that even though he hasn't pitched in MLB for 10 years now, he's still at it, regularly. And he put together an actually decent start of 4+ innings with only 1 run allowed against Venezuela, striking out Yasiel Puig in it too. Then he turned in a really good start against Curaçao in his second outing of the tournament. The final boss of weird former MLB pitchers though this year was Darrell Thompson. He was the man tasked with starting a win or go home game for Puerto Rico. The broadcast listed him as a free agent. Google lists him as a coach before they list him as a player. And that's because he pitched in 4 MLB games in his career. They were in 2011 and 2008, and he's pitching here with a purpose, still.
What you got?
What's a brother coming playing with Puerto Rico, man?
Hey,
How'd you get that?
Just because I love baseball, man. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter where I'm at.
All these guys are still going after it, bringing energy and competitive baseball in a way that's very clear, even for an outsider before this year like me. I brought this exact thing up for the WBC, but the range of players in this thing is part of the fun. 46-year-old Raul Valdez is teammates here with 19-year-old Hector Rodriguez. You have former MLB All-Stars I haven't touched on yet, like Alcides Escobar, Jonathan Scope, and Wilson Ramos, among others. Andrelton Simmons, too, who I'm actually just finding out for the first time while making this video that he somehow never made it to one big league All-Star game. Guys who made it to the show but haven't been there in at least 7 years now, like Alexi Amarista, Roger Bernardina, Severino Gonzalez, and Alan Cordoba. This, alongside active MLB players like Diamondbacks infielder Emmanuel Rivera and Marlins catcher Christian Bethancourt. You also have guys like Luke Westfall, a 34-year-old career minor leaguer from the United States who gets the chance to play in electric, packed house environments in MLB stadiums for the very first time, and openly tells the broadcasters how grateful he is to be on this stage. You would think this ridiculous variance in talent level causes for the games to be extremely unbalanced, but no. Nearly every game has been really close as of the time this is being recorded.
Pitch. Ground ball softly at the short. Tovar fields. No-hitter! For the first time in 72 years in the historic Caribbean Series.
And that's because every team has a lot of fight, and in the least corny way possible, the players are giving it the best they've got, on every pitch. Even if they're wearing the uniform of a place they have no true affiliation to, they're causing immense pride for their fans, their families, and a whole new land they may only be in for a short time. And, speaking of the uniforms...
Dan Fleisch has got a new shirt in today that's $450.
What? Because the pattern's so complicated, you idiot!
You see how many ads are placed all over these uniforms too? You remember when people got mad over uniform patches in Major League Baseball? When in other sports third-party brand partnerships are the entire identity of what gets worn sometimes? To say you're getting multiple ads per jersey for every team in this thing is an understatement, to the point where I personally find it hysterical. Some of them look ridiculous, and I genuinely love that. Like, take a peek at this Mexico uniform. Including the helmet, jersey, and butt cheek of the pants, there are over 15 ad placements on the uniform. What a reminder for MLB fans that this is a way different realm of baseball than you're used to. I don't mean to harp on something that's inherently meaningless to this thing, but like, I love it. And it is a literal and very cluttered representation of how this is not your everyday baseball experience. Come on, even the umpires have like 3 or 4 ads on their uniforms. You know what else is not like your everyday baseball experience?
Abanica el Torito, se poncha y cayó en el tercer out.
I cannot get over how infectious the energy for February baseball is in this event. February. You've heard of Mr. October and Mr. November. You've now accepted that mid-March every few years has passion. But look at how much these players and these crowds are invested in games that take place in the first week of February. It's always a signal of how important games are, at least to the people involved, based on how everyone around them is treating them. Even if you're a purist who thinks the only baseball games with that high of stakes take place in the same time of year as when the Jets have hope in football season, this is special. And I feel lucky to be getting exposure to this event for the first time because it is always something to behold when baseball is practically treated like life or death. Now, there is something I want to reiterate. I am very late to the party here. This tournament has been around 50 years longer than me. There are fans of this event that show up and deserve the credit long before it got more widespread exposure in the US. This is a tip of the cap to all the people taking the time, or in some cases the trip, to support their country. Just because I'm an American who fell in love with this tournament this year when it made its way to Miami and English-speaking broadcasts, doesn't mean I'm gonna act like I'm any more of a fan than the people who've been showing out when it takes place in Mexico or Puerto Rico or Venezuela, for example. And that's the magic of this. It galvanized a region for 60 plus years, still going strong. Strong enough that it's in an MLB stadium. And the demographic that only thinks of baseball as MLB only here is getting their first taste of it. If you've made it this far, the semifinals start the day this video goes up, and the third place game and championship are the next day. One of Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Panama, or Curacao will win the whole thing. If you have ESPN Plus, ESPN Deportes, or if you have access to South Florida Bally sports stations, tune in. If you can't, I urge you to follow along on social media and watch the highlights on YouTube. So, yeah.